Hi everybody, I'm Darren Moore and you're watching Reggae Boyz commentary.
Yes, Reggae Boyz commentary, like and subscribe, yeah? Reggae Boyz commentary, like, share, and subscribe.
Reggae Boyz commentary. Subscribe, like, and share.
Hello, everyone. How is everyone doing? I hope you all are doing well and enjoying this wonderful Saturday. My name is Simon Preston, and welcome to Reggae Boyz commentary. Yep, this is the channel where we come together to discuss everything in relation to Jamaican football. This is your hub for everything Jamaican football related. So we're going to focus on a topic and focus on a video that I know you guys have been waiting on for quite some time. So now is the time, now is the moment. How will head coach Heimer Hallgrimsson set up the Reggae Boyz? 2023 is a very, very busy year for the national team when you bear in mind that there will be the CONCACAF Nations League, because if Jamaica defeats Mexico, Jamaica are in the semifinals of the CONCACAF Nations League, which means that they'll be 2 victories away from the title. And in theory, we're talking about Jamaica winning 3 matches in the Nations League and winning a trophy. The CONCACAF Gold Cup in the summer, which will be in late June and ending in July, and later in the calendar year. More friendlies on the horizon in store. So that's what 2023 will hold for Jamaica, an opportunity, a building block towards the future, as World Cup qualifiers for 2026 campaign are slated to commence in mid-2024 or early 2025. So that lays the foundation for what is to come for the future. So, Heimer Hallgrimsson, before we get into exactly how Jamaica could line up, set up, do under coach Heimir Halgrimsson, we have to go back in time. Yep, that is right, because we're going to have to go back to see how he originally set up Iceland when he was the head coach of the Icelandic national team. That is what we're going to have to do right now to show you guys in particular, because for us to understand how he operates, we're going to have to go back in time. Yep, we're going to have to go back in time. And just to give a bit of context into things as well, he's 55-year-old and he's coming from a defensive background. He played as a defender professionally. He played with IBV in the late 80s to early 90s and also had a spell at Hotor as well. Also played with IBV in the 90s as well and was a goal-scoring defender. Averaged a goal every 9 games or so as a defender throughout the course of his career, from 1986 rather, to 2007. So he was a goal-scoring defender. So it's no surprise that the way that he lines up is defense first. And that is not a problem at all. Many people will look at it from another angle, but it is clear with everything. And his coaching credentials, 1993 worked with Hotor, 1999 to 2001 worked with IBV's women's team, started to work with the men in 2002 with IBV, worked with the women's IBV team 2003-2004, then the men's 2006 to 2011, Icelandic senior national team assistant 2011 to 2013, then stepped up in the hot seat 2013 to 2018 as their head coach, helped them to qualify for Euro 2016 and World Cup 2018, and Al Arabi in Qatar from 2018 to 2021. So now with Jamaica, how can we expect Heimer Halgrimsson to line up for Jamaica? What can we expect? What could happen? Well, let's get right into the matter. Let's get right into this factor in particular. This, folks, is how Heimer Halgrimsson lined up Iceland in Euro 2020. Euro 2016. Euro 2016, this is exactly how Heimer Halgrimsson lined up the Icelandic national team. It worked so well in Euro 2016. Remember, they defeated Austria to qualify for the round of 16. They had that a couple of draws as well, as you'd remember, and of course defeated England. And this is the same system that they used to defeat England in Euro 2016 to get to the quarterfinals to face France. 4-4-2. So we're going to look at 3 systems: the 4-4-2, the 4-3-3/4-5-1, and also the 4-2-3-1. We're going to talk about those systems and so on, and how Jamaica could line up. So this is how he lined up Iceland within the Euro for 2016. You know, as it relates to these 2 central midfielders, they worked in tandem together. While one went pressed forward, because this is kind of how they move forward together. With these two central midfielders, while one pressed, other sat in this 4-3-4-4-4-2 system. And many people will ask, and you can also understand as well the concern, what are the benefits of this 4-4-2 system? Is it outdated? Is it primitive? Is it something that we should never use again? Well, let's get right into the matter, shall we, in relation to this factor. Now, the 4-4-2 formation, firstly, it's straightforward to understand. Absolutely straightforward to understand. The 4-4-2 is one of the most clear systems that you have to, clear football systems. Basic with an effective 4-4-2 means that it's easy to understand and implement from training, and heading from training into the actual practice of games and matches and competitions. Strong sidelines. That is extremely a strong benefit of this 4-4-2 formation as well. With a flat four midfield configuration, you'll have both fullbacks and wingers working together to dominate the flanks. The two players on both sides can overlap so that the defender shoots past the corresponding winger to help with the attack, and consequently the midfielder drops back to maintain a strong defense. And as a result, it's easy to attack the opponent from the wings without compromising defensive stability. And we can see here as well elements of that as well. You're dropping back, the center halves coming back into their position, just like the fullbacks as well. The midfielders playing an important role as well, covering here as well. So there's that stability, which is why it is such a benefit having this 4-4-2 sort of system. Another benefit of it is the solid defense. Yep, that is right. The solid defense is extremely important here. Yep, right here. Solid defense. Using the 4-4-2 with a flat four midfield, your team will have a solid double wall of defense. These are the two double walls. During the defense, the midfielders may choose to join the defenders to create an 8-player defensive wall running between the two sidelines. And this makes it possible to double up on the attackers on the sidelines and in the midfield as well. Another positive of this 4-4-2 is lots and lots of crosses. Playing with two wide fullbacks and two wide midfielders helps in spreading the field. This forces the opponent team's defenders to stretch, creating holes that the strikers can utilize to penetrate into the box. Good width also creates additional opportunities for your team to attack from the sidelines and cross the ball into the box. This was evident again with Iceland in Euro 2016. Long balls, crosses into the box, certainly bamboozled the English team, the Portuguese, the Hungarians, and also the Austrian outfit as well. So this was critical. And this is why this is something that we should be optimistic about as Jamaicans heading towards this and entering this Coach Heimer Hallgrimsson era, or as many people are starting to say, Coach Grims or Grimmy in this era. So this is an absolute benefit. But are there cons to this 4-4-2 system? Well, you can understand why there would be a con. Not many cons to a 4-4-2, but if there is one, you could say there's a dangerous gap in the middle. Right here. There's a dangerous gap. Comparing the 4-4-2 into other formations such as the 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3, you realize that the 4-4-2 lacks an extra man in the middle. All right? And when facing any of these strategies, your two central midfielders will always find themselves in a 3v2 situation where they might lose the midfield battle. Ideally, this can be evened by having one of the strikers drop back when not in possession. So this is sort of like, you could say, a solution to having that sort of situation. So a 4-4-2, simple to understand, clear identity, solid defensively, but you can have an overload, which is a concern of this 4-4-2 sort of system. So that is something that we have to bear in mind when using this 4-4-2 system. And this is something under Coach Heimer Hallgrimsson, when he's defending in this 4-4-2 sort of shape, you'd have one of the number 9s operate in sort of this sort of position. So it appears like you have to break one line, break 2 line, break 3 line, break 4 lines just to get to the goalkeeper. So that is something that can give us a bit of hope, a bit of confidence in using this 4-4-2 sort of shape. So heading into the new year, I have no qualms at all using a 4-4-2 for Jamaica. And it's something that we should look at with confidence and with real sense of happiness. So now that we had a chance to look at the 4-4-2 system, let us look at another system that Coach Heimer Halgrimsson used. And this is a system that was used in the 2018 edition of the FIFA World Cup in Russia. Yes, that is right. This is the exact system that Coach Heimir Halgrimsson used for Iceland against Argentina. In defense, 4-5-1. And they got a 1-1 draw in that game. But what are the benefits of using this 4-5-1 sort of system? Well, firstly, it's easy to maintain this defensive shape. While the 4-5-1 isn't necessarily a complete defensive formation, it is seen that way by many football fans because it promotes a defensive sort of structure, but it covers every part of the field. So most players have a pretty easy time remembering their responsibilities, their duties, their roles, unlike other formations. Most players in a 4-5-1 have to stay away from their lanes on the field. Another positive of this 4-5-1 is great for counter-attacking. Absolutely brilliant for counter-attacking. One of the main reasons why teams dislike facing this formation is because they know they're going to be facing quick counters. And for a team like Jamaica, which has the pace, the power, the strength, this is a benefit. Some teams that run the 4-5-1 are willing to sit back for long periods of time and then wait until the perfect time to launch their counterattacks. They usually do this when the opposition team tries to break them down, and that get out of their and you know, they're basically exposing gaps behind them. So they would strike at these sort of moments. And if you watch any of the top teams that run that 4-5-1, you'll see that a lot of their goal scoring opportunities come from these counterattacks. While these teams usually don't tend to lead in terms of goals, they'll often get at least a couple of great chances per game. On average, a team that utilizes a 4-5-1 system will create 3.5 genuine goal scoring opportunities per game. 3.5 goal scoring opportunities per game, I'll take that any day of the week. Another benefit, high win percentage in low scoring games. That is right. Combining the first two strengths that we pointed out earlier, it should come as no surprise that good teams that run the 4-5-1 will often win low scoring games, 1-0, 2-1, since they're willing to sit back and wait for good counterattacks. They're also willing to get stuck in and play good defense for long periods of time. Another reason why the 4-5-1 our teams that use the 4-5-1 give up so few goals is because they're willing to bring their whole team to the defensive side of the field. So everyone has that clear idea, clear identity, clear focus, clear drive. Everybody is just on that same page. This ensures that they will always have someone on the ball, and when played correctly, will greatly lower the chances of the opposing offenses getting good looks at the goal. But what are the challenges? What are the weaknesses of this 4-5-1? Well, simply put, it takes a lot of time to get everyone on a team to understand the 4-5-1, and even then it can be broken down. The three weaknesses of a 4-5-1 that I've identified, and top managers across the world have identified, are difficult to stay focused, outside midfielders have to be the engine, and it's tough to master. So that is critical there. Difficult to stay focused, the first area. Even if a team that runs the 4-4-1 takes huge pride in their defense, they're still susceptible to losing focus at times. When that happens, opposing teams can find openings and get behind the back line. And 4-5-1 teams spend hours every week working on keeping their shape for long periods of time. But even the best of these teams will play or two off from time to time. So there are still gaps that can be exploited in this sort of system, which is a concern, a massive concern. It has to be said from this angle. The outside midfielders have to be the engines. So these guys, these guys, these guys, these guys. More so than any other formation, outside midfielders have a ton of responsibilities when playing the 4-5-1. Not only do they have to take off running once their team gains possession, they also have to run back to help cover any opposing player that come down their side of the field. They basically have to learn to be great wingers and second fullbacks to have success in this sort of formation. Coaches usually stick to their formations even when they don't have the perfect players in each position, which means that many teams have at least one outside midfielder who struggles to handle all of their responsibilities. This can lead to the entire team having to shift around to make up for that player's weakness, making it easier for the opposing team. And finally, the last weakness of this sort of system is that it's difficult to master. There's no such thing as an easy formation, but the 4-5-1 is a bit more complex than most other formations. A good example was when Stoke City had Tony Pulis as their manager, and they looked great in those short spells with the 4-5-1. But their performances often had fans question whether it was the right formation for them, especially bearing in mind the caliber of players that they had at their disposal as well. This is not a formation for players who are just starting out, and even experienced players will need some time to get used to this 4-5-1. So for Coach Halgrimsson, if a 4-5-1 system is something that he is going to use or planning to utilize, well, it is something that is going to need to be analyzed effectively. And it's going to be something that has to be practiced. And the reality with international football is you don't have a lot of time. You don't have a lot of time or energy to be able to utilize it. But one system that Coach Heimer Hallgrimsson has used, and we've seen this against midfielders or teams that are very, very strong in midfield, like Croatia, like he did at the World Cup in 2018, was utilized the 4-2-3-1 system. 4-2-3-1 system. Yep, 4-2-3-1. We saw this against Croatia, and we've seen this especially when he was the head coach of Iceland against teams that would generally have either the better midfield or a team that are likely to dominate. So the 4-2-3-1. So what about the 4-2-3-1? What are the benefits, the strengths, the weaknesses from this 4-2-3-1 sort of system? Well, the 4-2-3-1 provides great numbers in the attack while offering substantial cover against the counter-attacks. While it's generally a balanced approach, it does expose the width. It does, because you would have a situation where these guys are very, very narrow, and these guys are a bit forward. So you will have a gap in between the fullbacks in particular. As with any formation, it can be beaten with some considerations. The advantages of a 4-2-3-1. Let us now look at that, and then of course you guys can let me know your thoughts about it as well. But these are some of the advantages that we can bear in mind with the 4-2-3-1. Creates triangles throughout the middle to facilitate effective passing. Two defensive mids provide a significant defensive cushion against counter-attacks and quality offensive attacks. And it facilitates build-up from the back, beginning with the goalkeeper. Great for centre-backs that are organized and technically sound, and it allows centre mids to attack 1v1 and generate the attack higher up on the pitch. It also accounts for space on the entire field and encourages creative play and freedom for the attackers. So that is something from the 4-2-3-1 that we can generally take in mind and definitely hone quite well. What about the weaknesses of a 4-2-3-1? Well, it requires fullbacks that are extremely fit and can cover a lot of ground. So that's going to be imperative for those persons. Defensive responsibilities for attacking-minded players as well. So they will also have a responsibility. Even this guy will have that defensive responsibility. And it takes immense physical exertion from several players, leading to burnout throughout the course of a competition or even a league. So these guys right here, a lot of energy needed from them. Attacks begin from a very deep position, and ideally you don't want the ball to be higher when you start in those attacks. And it can be more complicated and intricate to teach players. Maybe not the same like a 4-5-1, but a 4-2-3-1 also has its fair share of weaknesses as well. But clearly systems that can be effective, and one that has worked for Coach Heimer Hallgrimsson. Despite not be defeating Croatia, they didn't embarrass themselves in that game. That Croatian midfield is splendid, and they got over that line. Now we're going to look at another angle, folks, and that is Jamaica, as you can see by those yellow dots that you see on your screen. How could Jamaica look? What can we expect from the Jamaican team? Well, I have Jamaica lined up here in this 4-3-3, and I think it's something that we should look at because there are tremendous benefits to this 4-3-3 sort of shape. As you guys know, our wide players will be attacking quite well and have that pace, that power, that strength, like I've often mentioned as well. One holding mid, not two, because you give an opportunity to the likes of a Ravel Morrison and a Danielle Johnson to use their attacking freedom. If Ravel decides to press and beat 4, 5, 6 players, then Danielle can be able to be in this sort of area. And if Danielle is on the ball and finds space he can exploit, then Ravel can just slightly come up to provide a passing option here. And he can be able to switch it out wide or decide to pass the ball, that penetrative pass towards that number 9. So that's something to bear in mind there. But a formation / system that you guys have discussed in quite some time is the last system that we're going to touch here that has rarely been used by Coach Heimer Hallgrimsson, but a system that could very much be used moving forward. We saw it for Paul Hall, and we're going to talk about it right now. What is that system? Well, you guys are going to see it right now. Setting it up for you guys so you guys can see it. Yep, the 3-5-2 system. Building out from the back, you all would agree that Jamaica looked good in the qualifiers when Jamaica utilized this system in particular. As you guys know, the matter in relation to Coach Paul Hall, despite not getting those results against Costa Rica and co, Jamaica in that 3-5-2 looked good. And I know you guys would agree with that point in particular. So 3-5-2, let's look at those strengths. Number 1, can control the middle of the field. One of the best things about that 3-5-2 is you can control the middle. When you have 5 midfielders pinched towards the middle of the field, you have a natural advantage. That's actually why so many coaches have started to use the 3-5-2 across the globe, and why other teams have to spend so much time learning to navigate through it. This control also means that coaches have a multitude of ways they can use a 3-5-2 formation. They can try to be high possession, or they can sit back and control their opponents defensively. Either way, they know that they will usually beat teams they like to play through the middle of the pitch in particular. Second area, it allows for more creativity. You have angles where you can go the wing backs to be able to provide that attacking thrust. You have the central midfielders that can do that. Also the forwards that can be able to play that sort of through ball, because you have these players that can operate and move forward and operate that sort of thrust for the team, which is why a 3-5-2 offers that sort of advantage. More attacking options, that's also another plus of the 3-5-2 as well. On top of being a potentially creative setup, the 3-5-2 also allows more players to get into scoring positions on the field. Unsurprisingly, many midfielders love to play in the 3-5-2 because they know they'll at least get some scoring opportunities, regardless of where they line up within the formation in particular. Now to the limitations of the 3-5-2. The 3-5-2 is an excellent formation when it works, but the fact is that it has a bunch of weaknesses that can make it unravel quite quickly. The first area, tough to defend the sidelines. It can be extremely tough, these areas in particular, because of course you have your fullbacks that are bombing forward. So these guys will not only need to be fit, but need to be tactically disciplined when they are defending as well. Susceptible to counterattacks. Yep, since the wing backs are usually pushing far up the field, it should come as no surprise that the 3-5-2 can regularly be hit by strong counterattacks. Even if the central defenders are able to cover the wings, that can still create the holes in the defense. And the only way to consistently stop counterattacks with this formation is to press high and hope that the defenders can intercept long balls and also through balls as well. Of course, a team that plays a solid 3-5-2 will usually have good possession and can limit the amount of counterattacks that they face. And finally, hard to predict. Yeah, very hard to predict. Since just about every player in a 3-5-2 has a unique set of jobs, it can be tough for everyone to be on the same page at all times. This is why many managers give up on the 3-5-2 after a while and only have great managers, use it consistently. Teams that are able to perfect 3-5-2 can have huge advantage over some of the other more popular formations. Until that happens, though, there are plenty of weaknesses in this formation that opposing teams can take the advantage of. So, folks, we looked at the 4-4-2, 4-5-1, 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1, and also the 3-5-2. The last one, the 3-5-2, is not one that Coach Heimer Hallgrimsson has used. However, it is something for us to really, really consider moving forward. So, Reggae Boyz fans, what are your thoughts? How should the Reggae Boyz set up? How would you set up the Reggae Boyz in 2023? These are some systems that Coach Heimer Hallgrimsson will use. What are your thoughts about it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to Reggae Boyz Commentary for more content.
Yes, Reggae Boyz Commentary, like and subscribe, yeah?
Reggae Boyz commentary. Subscribe, like, and share.
Reggae Boyz Commentary, like, share, and subscribe.
Hi everybody, I'm Darren Moore and you're watching Reggae Boyz Commentary.